Hello, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well. I think the stream is working now. Had some technical difficulties. Beautiful tone quality. Thank you. Hello, Mr. Anonymous, also. First trombone, let's go. Can I play Bordoni? Sure. Give me a second. Do I have a main instrument? If so, what is the instrument, and what is the first instrument you ever played? So the first instrument I ever played was piano. That's the easiest one to answer. My primary instrument, I like to think that my primary instrument is the one that's in my hands, which, you know, as of this very moment is trombone, but it could very easily, I don't have one within reach. I can't lift my tube with one hand. But, you know, whatever instrument is in my hand, to me, that is what my primary instrument is. Which is just kind of my personal philosophy of being, you know, what a lot of people call a doubler. I don't really like that term because it kind of implies that you're really good at one and then you just kind of double or dabble on the other one. So I don't like to think that way. You know, I have more degrees on tuba and I have more, you know, professional work on trombone. So, you know, and that's not necessarily euphonium's fault either way. But those are just kind of is what it is. So, you know, I don't like to necessarily tie myself down to one. Let's see, what Bordoni? Yeah, I can play some tuba later. I have the trombone in the hands right now, but I might play some tuba later. Let's see, Bordoni number 7, or Roche. It's from the Rochu book number 7. I know the numbers are different in different books. see here. Do you think using vibrato is necessary when playing slow pieces? It depends. It's never, 100% necessary. I kind of think about it more, does it add to the music or does it take away from the music? And a lot of times in the slower pieces, I do think it makes sense. But, there are so many caveats to that. If you're playing in the extreme low range, I don't think it adds to things, especially on tuba. I don't use, or really on any brass instrument, I don't use a lot of vibrato anywhere underneath the staff. I just, for me, it doesn't seem to be effective. So I think about it more in terms of that sort of thing. But, I think it's pretty common to use it. But it also depends on the context. This is me playing by myself at home. If I were playing in the back row of an orchestra, even if it's slow music, probably not. But maybe, it depends. It depends on if it's a solo or something. But I think if you're playing by yourself and it's slow, vibrato can enhance the music, but it also can be way too much. I often put my students in vibrato jail where I won't allow them to use vibrato for like weeks sometimes, just to make sure that we're making very informed musical decisions and not just kind of using vibrato because it's a long note. So those are some of my kind of ideas with it. Had to play Etude number 1 and 2 for All Region and watch your videos. It helped you so much. Got first chair. I'd like to thank you for that. Yeah, no problem. That's ideally what these videos are here for. Just out of curiosity, is that for ATSSB or TMEA Etudes? TMEA 1 and 2, awesome. What is the paperclip exercise used for? I want to try it out because my band director told other students to do it. I think I know what you're talking about, where you put the paperclip like in between the mouthpiece and the lead pipe. I think that's what you're talking about. For that, that's not something I do a ton, but I think the last person that I heard just do that was Oystein Bodsvik, the famous tuba soloist. So I think it's a good thing to probably be doing. But my understanding of it's not something that I tell my students to do just because it's not something I've really worked with a lot. But my understanding is that it's basically like a buzzing technique, but you get a little bit more resistance from doing that than just buzzing straight, without the instrument whatsoever. Which practice book do you think is most important, like it's necessary to play as a brass player? There are lots of good books out there. For me, if I had a desert island book, it'd probably be the Bordoni Vocalises. I really like those etudes, yeah, I think that those are really good. I mean, a lot of people are really big Arbanz fans. I spent a lot of time working out of the Arbanz, but I never really thought it was my favorite thing, and maybe that means that I should spend more time with it, but I always felt that I could work on things that the Arbanz works on in other ways and didn't need the Arbanz as much. But a lot of people swear by the Arbanz, and I've spent a lot of time working out of it, so I'm sure I've gotten something from it. But probably the Bordoni books. I like the Blažević etudes as well, but there are lots of ways to go about it. It depends on the instrument too. You went to UNT for your bachelor's, right? How was your experience there? Yep, I went to UNT. I majored in jazz trombone and tuba performance for my undergrad. I'm also technically currently a student getting my doctorate there. But the experience was good. I came back, so it couldn't have been that bad, right? Do I know Seth Carter, the tuba player? Yes, I know Seth, the student at UNT. He's a very good tuba player. I've only taught him a little bit. He wasn't like one of my regular students, but he's a great player. I'm glad that he decided to come to UNT and has been doing really well here. Let's see. Yeah, the tuba world, or all the brass world, music world, is pretty small. Let's see here. Thank you. If anyone has any questions about anything, feel free to ask them. Also, is it pretty easy to read the music on the screen? I know some people might be viewing on their phones. Cool. Seems like everybody's able to see it pretty well. I also have this other view, but I think I have that set up just where it's my. Oh, that's not another view. That's the same view. This one. So I have this one as well. but it doesn't work with the full screen that well. So one spot that I think is kind of interesting. Let's see, I can zoom in a little bit further actually. Is this measure here? This is one of these really kind of peculiar music theory things that you kind of have to just guess sometimes. So if you look at the key signature, it's E flat major, and then we have an E natural here, and then we have this E here, and it's, you know, is it a flat, is it a natural? It's one of those things where it kind of depends on the time period. And older things, that carries through, that E natural up there carries through the lower octave. So it's a little bit weird because you kind of have to guess and interpret based off of time period. Sorry, let me turn my phone off. Or not off. No one ever actually turns their phone off. So it's kind of an interesting thing that maybe some of you didn't know, that there's a rule for that. So if it's really contemporary, this would be an E flat because of the key signature, even though there's an E natural up here. But it's one of those things where that's a rule that sometimes you just have to play what's right, is kind of my rule, because it might even change. Let's see, what horn do I use? So I assume you're asking about what tube I was just playing. Let's see here. I'll get a little bit better at going back and forth between these camera angles. So this is a Mel Culbertson Neptune. You can even kind of see that. VMI Mel Culbertson Neptune. So it's a 6-quarter, 5-valve C tuba. I know it's pretty zoomed in, but kind of see it a little bit better. It doesn't do very well with the video lights because the video lights are kind of bright. But yeah, so it's a good tuba. I like it. It's pretty similar to a PT6 if you're familiar with that instrument, or whatever their new number system is. I don't really know the new numbers very well. But it's pretty much a PT6, just a little bit bigger and, you know, I guess a little bit fancier too. You know, got like little, you know, engravings on the valves and things like that. It comes with removable lead pipes, so this is one of 2 lead pipes. I've got a second 5th valve slide as well. Sorry, that probably sounded terrible. Sorry for hitting the mic. It's got 2 5th valve slides, so it's kind of a fancier version, but also it's bigger. I guess I can finish playing this etude. I should do videos on etude books. Yeah, that could be a good thing to do. Yeah, I've definitely thought about that a little bit. It's just hard with my channel sometimes. I wonder if I should do a general one for all low brass instruments that are, you know, kind of the most likely people that are watching. And then, yeah, I could break it up into individual instruments, but that's kind of silly with some of the Etudes books being the same. But yeah, I don't know how I'll do that, but that's definitely a good idea. I also kind of promised some mutes videos that I haven't quite finished. But I thought the first one would do better, and it kind of seems silly for me to do a bunch of them if nobody cared. So my goal is to do videos on things that people are interested in, but that's not always the easiest thing. And maybe the YouTube algorithm is separate from people's interests, but it's hard to figure out all of that stuff. What is my favorite type of peanuts? I don't know. I mean, it's not a peanut, but I like cashews a lot. I don't really eat a lot of peanuts, but I eat a decent amount of cashews. I actually meant to go to the store today specifically because a recipe that I need to make tomorrow has cashews in it, and that's the one thing I don't have on hand. So it's actually helpful that you reminded me. So I want to try another thing to see if this works. Let's see here. Curious, was everyone able to hear a keyboard sound in there? It's weird, actually, the way I had it set up, I couldn't hear the actual sound. Cool. Yeah, I don't know if that'll have a purpose, but I kind of wanted to set that up. All right, let's see here. Again, feel free to ask some questions if you have them. How do you go about having a soft dynamic but still having a full sound? That's a good question. That's definitely something I struggled with for a long time, and saying it like that means that I've perfected it now. I wouldn't say that I've perfected it now, but I've gotten a lot better than where I originally was with that. And I think there are two parts of it. One, I think a lot of brass players don't practice soft, don't practice in the soft dynamic very much because I think, let's face it, most of us didn't choose the instrument for that. So I think we tend to neglect that area. So I have to remind myself to always be practicing in the soft dynamics. But I think another thing to think about is kind of extending your good sound from the louder volumes to the softer volumes. So here's an exercise that I do. This I stole it from my teacher for my master's degree, Rex Martin. He used to make us do this, and he'd call it the most boring exercise in the world, and it's not exciting necessarily, but to me it's the best one that I know how to work on my soft playing. So essentially it's just playing long tones but starting loud and going all the way down to niente or nothing. So I'll demonstrate that. The PDF will be on there, but there's no point in the PDF. It's just the way I have this set up. So it'd basically be like that 3 times per note. And the way that we did it, and the exact way honestly doesn't make much of a difference. But we do it for the B flat major scale, starting on middle B flat all the way down to pedal B flat. So a 2-octave scale, 3 times per each note. I think we did it like quarter note equals like 50 something. I can't remember. It's been a while, but I don't necessarily do it exactly the way that we would do it, but maybe I'll take any scale and just do that a little bit. And even sometimes just doing a little bit of that really, to me, is helped. So for me, that's how I've worked on it. And that's kind of, prior to that exercise, I would say I was not very good at it. And now I definitely don't want to play softer than I have to. But I think it's kind of enabled me to be able to play a little bit softer. So maybe I could demonstrate that on something. I mean, it doesn't really show up that well via the internet, but how's it going, Chris? Yeah, so that little exercise is kind of the best one that I know to work on my soft dynamics. It's definitely something that I feel like I ran from for a really long time. You know, I didn't work on it. I didn't practice it. I didn't do it. And you know, sometimes you can get away with that with your soft playing. But you know, you never know those situations that you might get put in where you have to play really really soft. Um, you know, like one of the perfect examples of if you're taking a professional audition on tuba, playing the Mahler 1 solo in the third movement, that solo, sometimes conductors just want to say play it softer. And it probably doesn't need to be as soft as some conductors want it, but if that's what they want and you want a job, that's what you have to do. So that's a big reason why I practice my softs, is that excerpt right there. But yeah, that's a little bit of my thoughts on soft playing. Feel free if anybody has any other questions about anything. I shouldn't say anything. Relevant questions are good. Maybe I'll play a little F tuba. Oh, sorry, I had the wrong camera thing set up, so that audio probably sounded terrible, but maybe not. Sorry about that. How do you get to the very loud dynamics without sounding like you're blasting? It's a good question. You know, I think ultimately that's another, you know, I have a similar answer. You have to practice playing loud. I think, again, I don't know a lot of people who really practice playing loud at home. You know, they maybe play loud in band or something, but, you know, and also there's some level of, you know, the instrument dictates that. You know, that's one of the reasons why I play such a large tuba, because it can it can handle the amount of volume that I need to play sometimes. You know, on my F tuba, this tuba here, it's not as big. I know it's kind of hard to see, but it's not a very big tuba. It's not a small tuba necessarily, but it's not a big tuba. And as a 16.5 inch bell compared to my 20.5 inch bell, my C tuba, and it can't play as loud, or it can play as loud, but it gets harsh a lot earlier. So I think that's a big part of it, is that listening to what the instrument wants to do. But I think in general, just keeping things relaxed, even when you're playing really loud, is important. I think what a lot of times bad sounds come from is tension, and we can create that tension by playing really loud and kind of forcing it. And I try to never kind of have a bad sound because of something like that. So I hope that kind of helps and answers your question. Yep, this is my F tuba. I know I've scooted up closer to the camera so you don't get the whole tuba, but yeah, this is my F tuba. My F tuba doesn't have lacquer, and I pretty much always am playing a gold mouthpiece. And my C tuba is got that darker, rich lacquer. You can kind of see it behind me. I know it's blurry and dark, and I'm also often playing with a silver mouthpiece, almost always. So that might help distinguish the two. But especially with how little of it's in frame, it's pretty difficult to tell. Yeah, F tuba does share a lot of fingerings with B flat tuba. I wouldn't say that it's almost all the same. I would say it's maybe a third to half of them. It makes sense because on a B flat tuba, your overtones, you have B flat, and then you have F. So for that, and then obviously on an F tuba, you're going to have a lot of F overtones. So that's really where the overlap is that we both instruments share that F overtone. or partial. So that's really the key thing that's the same. So if I'm playing F, I'm playing E, E flat, D, D flat, C, B natural, and then from there, those notes are different. And then, as you go higher, there are different options for them that maybe make it, less desirable to use another fingering. But yeah, there are a lot of similarities, but they are definitely different. Feel free to keep the questions coming. Do I do any breathing exercises? No, I don't really. They have their place, but I don't do a ton of that personally. Have I conducted in a band before? I've done some conducting. Not a lot of, not really much of like a full band. It's not really my thing. Have I done marching band? No, I didn't march in high school like most people do. Closest thing I did to marching, I spent a summer playing in the Disneyland All-American College Band, which, you're you're dancing around and playing, but I wouldn't quite call it marching in the traditional sense. What I was going to do is not going to work. That's okay. Yeah, conducting is interesting. It's just not something I've really practiced and do a lot. Um, as a part of my doctorate, I conducted a tuba euphonium ensemble for a little while. So I think if there aren't too many more questions, I might hop off here pretty soon. This question is kind of irrelevant, but have you ever dropped a tuba on your head while playing? I don't think so. Then the tuba has definitely inflicted physical pain once or twice.
But I don't know about dropped on my head. Nice, thank you. Yeah, I had another thing set up that I was gonna do, play along with some tunes. I think you can see that I had it set up.
There, and maybe it would still actually work, but um, but yeah, I'm struggling to get it to work exactly the way that I want to. But hopefully at some point I'll have that and can play some tunes.
Um, Wish I had you for an instructor. You can always set up an online lesson with me, assuming you're not in the area. Um, but yeah, I do remote lessons, which especially nowadays people are a little bit more comfortable with. Um, and yeah, I think I do them pretty well. I've got a few technological things I can do that a lot of people can't. Um, any advice for beginner tuba players? Do a lot of listening. I think that the biggest thing that people are missing is they don't listen. I think most of your tone quality comes from really listening and then trying to match that. I think it's really difficult to make a really good sound without knowing what a really good sound is. And I think we learn what a really good sound is from listening. And that's something that my first teacher, really instilled in me. He would send me home with cassettes, and I would listen to those cassettes, and that's how it was. I had to listen to those, and he'd ask me questions about them. So that's a big thing that I think is important. Um, have I played Greensleeves by Alfred Reed? I think so, but I'm not sure. You know what they say? I don't know what they say. But hello, Brady. Welcome. You got on here just for the end. But yeah, Simon, if you're interested in lessons, there you can always message me on Instagram. That's the easiest way. Which Low Brass you the same tag. So I didn't know they said that, Brady.
This is in Blazovich's tuba book. Nope, this one isn't. Um, it's a Bordoni vocalist, and there are several different editions of. Oh, you can't hear me. You can't
Hear
hear
me
me.
well. No, it's not in Blazovich's book. It's in the Bordoni Vocaliste book. And there are several different versions of that. There's the Rochu one, which is kind of the common trombone one, but even tuba players may play out of that and play it down the octave. There's the bel canto studies, which is probably the most common for tuba. But then there's also I know it's the Encore Publications. I don't know what it's called. Um, but yeah. Oh, we got some regulars here. I think this is going to be my consistent time, 7:30 Central Standard Time. But not too much game time. How are you doing? How are you doing, Tuba Man, also? I know there's no perfect time for everyone, so I'm just kind of throwing a time out there. You're a freelance musician, right? Yep, I guess that's what I do primarily. I mean, I wear a few different hats, but that's kind of my main thing. What made you do that other than being someone like a band director? It's just, it's just what I, chose to do. I really like playing, and, there are band directors who are able to play, but they're really, they have a lot to do. And some of those things I think I would enjoy, but I don't know that I'd enjoy all of them. So that's kind of the biggest reason. When's the merch dropping? I don't know. I've still been thinking about it. I think an athletic polo, at least for me, wearing it, I think would be the best. I've thought about that, an athletic polo with like the Low Brass U logo on it, and like having any like white and blue. But I think white would look the best with like this gray background. But also I'm afraid that it would just get immediately destroyed by oil. Oh yeah, the graduate audition process. You should be, like, I guess not even halfway done. They're really just starting. But I hope those are going well. I assume that most of those are, if not all of them, are virtual. Got past all the pre-screens. That's always good. I've only had to do one pre-screening, and I actually didn't get through that pre-screening. It's actually the only school that ever rejected me in any way. But that's okay. Thought my dog was going to make an appearance. Not that interested. I know a few of the regulars just got on, but if there aren't too many more questions, I'm going to get off here pretty soon. What kind of dog do I have? She's a pit mix. We had her genetically tested. She's like 5/8 pit bull, 1/8 boxer, 1/8 black lab, and 1/8 whippet. She's not super big. She's pretty dense. She's only she's about 50 pounds. But she probably looks like she weighs less than that. But she's a pretty dense, muscular dog. What new solo material am I getting into? I should have an answer for that, but I haven't really been working on a lot of solos right now. Honestly, I've just taken a lot of this time, to really kind of practice, and get better with etudes and things like that. That's a big part of what I do. I think she just wanted to come in here and cry. But yeah. Yeah, I think I'm going to follow Brady's lead and also hop off of here. But hello to Brazil. That's awesome. But thank you all for joining the stream. It's been a good stream. So show the dog. Every time I get up to try to grab her, she doesn't want to. She's right there next to me, but I don't think that if I stand up, she'll run away. Maybe. Let's see. Zoe, come here. Come here. No. She doesn't want to be caught on camera. Yep. All right. I'll catch everybody later. All right.